to episode 2 of Keeping It Real.
That's right.
We are keeping it real.
All the time.
The only male mentoring podcast that we're telling you the truth. But along with that, we're wanting to make sure that you all have the information you need. As you can see here, I got a real special guest with me. His name is Ryan McKee. Ryan McKee is part of McKee Real Estate Group, based right here in Riverside. But let me tell you a little bit about how I met Ryan McKee and how he's sitting here today. Me and him go way back. It's been, what, Ryan, maybe about 5 years now? About 5 years.
5 or 6 years.
5 or 6 years. Yeah, we met at a gym. We both went to a nice gym down in here in Riverside. Shout out to Team Elite. You know, they keep me all nice and trimmed up and feeling good, and you know what I'm saying. But when I saw Ryan, we connected automatically, and then I got the opportunity to work with him. It was the trainer Jared who said, "Hey, I had no idea. We talked about everything except there was never that conversation of what we did for a living."
Right.
But Jared was like, "Hey, you need to reach out to Ryan. You're trying to buy a house out in the nice city of Orange Crest, and Ryan's your guy. He's grew up here. He knows about that area." Ryan literally hooked me up. He sat me down. It was the most professional experience that I ever had. And the thing that I liked about Ryan is he was real. He, with my wife, with myself, he wasn't just trying to sell me a house. We would go and visit houses, and he did this. This is the broker. This is the owner. This is the team lead, and he personally was going out. And it was great for him to show me houses, and he would say, "Hey, this is on a busy street. I don't know if you would like that. Hey, this house doesn't smell right." It wasn't him just trying to sell me a house. It was him building that relationship. And since then, he's been my man. He's been talking to me about conversations that I've never talked about growing up. Trust funds, I've heard of it, but it just seems so far off. He's talked to me about home ownership, how to leverage money. He's talked to me about stocks. He's talked to me about different conversations that, we've started talking about together. But I've always told you, I've always talked about Ryan. So I'm happy that this man is here.
Yeah, man. But I want you guys to understand the key point that Chris mentioned, that he was willing to go ask. He listened. Hey, Chris, you need to go talk to Ryan. Oh, okay. You didn't just kind of go, whatever. It's more like you had the willingness to go talk to someone, and you kind of had to put the ego to the side, right? And say, hey, I need to go talk about someone who knows about this industry that we may not know of, But definitely, man, I do agree with you in the sense that, there are individuals like Ryan that's looking out for us, believe it or not, because it's an area that we don't know. I can literally say that I learned financial literacy in mid-30s, and to someone, I had to be willing to say, what is it that I need to do to better my life? Right. So by the time I'm 50, 60, I'm telling you guys, this whole concept of retiring after your 60s, that's baloney. I don't know, do we still say baloney? That's baloney, man. Right. At the end of the day, we were just having a conversation before we started recording. Yeah. We want to retire 50, 55 and really enjoy life. So, Chris, what are the questions you want to start with Ryan so you can help us out today?
So I want Ryan to just, we're going to talk a little bit about him. So my first question for you, Ryan, is who are you? Who is Ryan McKee?
It's a good question. And I'll start off by saying, because of what I learned through my life, I've learned that with where I'm at now, in order for me to be the best husband, father, business owner, I have to take care of my business, but also I have to take care of my balance, right? So part of the reason why Chris and I met is because it was suggested to me to go to a gym, which not for everybody is exactly what you want to do in the morning. And so for me, I wanted to make sure I was having that balance in my life. It's a discipline. I'm sure you guys talk about disciplines. And for me, I have a morning routine. So I was lucky enough to get connected in a group and meet Chris. And just like Chris said, he was curious and he asked me questions that turned into a relationship. And that's how a lot of key things in my life had started. So you're asking, who is Ryan McKee? Well, it really goes back to who was Ryan McKee. So, you know, we were talking briefly before we started here, and I am a RCC alumni.
Right.
Best 6 years of my life, right? This is a 2-year program, right? Still? Okay, it's not 6 years. So just being real and honest, I am not somebody that, I'm not the smartest guy you're going to ever meet. You know, I'm a graduate of the School of Hard Knocks, and but I'll tell you, one thing that life has taught me is experiences and how to learn from those experiences. So I spent almost 10 years developing who Ryan McKee is, because I'll be honest with you, when I graduated high school, I didn't know. And I didn't know a couple of years into college. That's why I came here, was to explore who I was going to become. And so I actually developed who I was out in the world. You know, if you ever meet me and I don't have long sleeves on, I've got tattoos.
Tattooed out.
Just like Chris. And yeah, you're the smart one, right? Invest your money, right? But I chose the music industry. I actually was a traveling musician for almost 10 years.
What do you play?
So I was a guitarist.
Okay.
And played in bands for, professionally almost 10 years. And yeah, thought this is it. This is who I am.
Interesting.
And so the course of those 10 years, what I actually learned, and I didn't realize it until after, was I learned marketing and I learned business out on the road. Because as a band, we were a product. And so we were marketing our music, we were marketing our image, we were booking our own tours, we were collecting money, we were investing that money. I didn't even learn that. Nobody told me I was learning that, you know, when we were out there on the road. Well,
do you think it was the pleasing aspect or the people? What do you mean by marketing your music? How do you?
Yeah, you know, almost like now, where when you start a business, you have to go on to certain platforms. Right. So, not to date myself, but MySpace was our platform. So there you go. So for anybody that's familiar with MySpace, Google it. It used to exist 20 years ago. So we actually branded ourselves on MySpace. We created a platform. We marketed our product, which was our band and our music. We sold our own CDs. That's literally how we would go from CDs.
Google that too.
Yeah, CDs. Yeah, CDs. And so that's literally how we survived on the road, was selling CDs, playing shows. Some shows you get paid for, some you don't. That's what you learn on the road. And so I learned relationships. I mean, we were a 5-person band with 3 people on the road. We had our tour manager, we had our technicians, you know, our guitar techs and things like that. And that was where I learned for 10 years. What I also learned at the end of that 10 years is this is not the career for me long term. So what I thought was right for me in my early 20s, by the time I was in my late 20s, I had started a family. I was married, I had a young child, and priorities shifted for me.
Definitely.
So who was Ryan McKee was, I don't know, and I developed it for 10 years and I started learning some things.
I like how you reference the band. You had a manager for this, you had a manager for that. And this is what we're trying to tell you guys today. You got to build your team, right? So we're bringing a team right now, a team member that can be part of your team, even from a financial perspective. So, Ryan, I really appreciate when you touch that. Like, people have certain expertise, and sometimes you just play your part.
That's right.
Right? You're the guitarist, you got your solo, you do it, right? And then let the keyboard guy, the drummer do the thing. Yeah. But here's the problem. We always want to do it all by ourselves. We need to learn that. Gentlemen, we need to learn that we need people to work with us. But with that, you know, kind of rolls into my our second question is, what is your philosophy with money? You know, money and investments. What's your philosophy about that?
Absolutely. So I'm very simple. So I think one of the, you know, you guys, everybody knows who Warren Buffett is. And, you know, Warren Buffett's rule of thumb is you invest in companies that you like, right? You want long-term, boring investments, companies that you like. So one of the first things, my philosophy on money, it's super simple. It's timing. There's timing and there's time in. Well, my philosophy is time in is greater than time in. I will never be able to predict the housing market. If you watch the market today, which I do, I watch the market every single day. I'm not obsessed with the market because it's not emotional for me. My philosophy is money is tactical. Money is not emotional.
I like that.
So if the market is down, my philosophy is there's opportunity. I watch the market. I like to buy on a dip. I like to buy on a dip. So if you watch trends, then you'll see when it's a good opportunity to get. I like good, strong companies that are beat up.
So Ryan, let's just say when you were first starting, Ryan McKee, let's say you only had $500 in your account, okay?
Yes.
Or let's say Ryan McKee was making a little bit above minimum wage before Ryan McKee got into where he was doing. What were those beginning steps before you were able to even get into the time in, time out philosophy?
Absolutely. Yeah, starting from the beginning, I had good mentors in my life that I had to seek. A lot of us don't have that automatically given to us. You have to find somebody that is doing already what you want to be doing. So if your goal is you want to have $10,000 in the bank, talk to somebody that's already been there. Ask questions, just like you said. Where do I start? Where do I invest? For me personally, I knew that I needed a certain amount of money on a monthly basis to run my household. So when my household was just me and I was living in an apartment, what do I need to do to cover my groceries, my gas, my insurance, my bills? And it was suggested to me to create like an emergency fund. Right. And a good suggestion of where to start is, how are you going to start investing if you can't pay your bills? You don't have extra money if you don't have enough money to cover that. So I needed to first start with simply what's coming in, what's going out. Is what's coming in more than what's going out? Okay, that's a good start. Where it's transposed to is now, my mindset is I pay myself first.
Go.
You take the first. For me, it's mandatory 20%.
Wow.
Because a smarter person than me said if you take 20% off the top and save it for 20 years, they showed me a path to becoming a millionaire. Yeah. And when I heard that word, I don't have millionaires I didn't have millionaires that I had access to. Wow. So that's where it started. It was a mindset thing.
So if it's 20%, what would you say for beginners?
Yeah.
Would you still say 20%, or would you say, start with 2?
Like you have 500 a month, you're taking $100 of that.
Yes.
And doing
absolutely.
With
you
it.
have to start somewhere. It's a mindset thing.
Right. There you go.
So
discipline.
I have a son that's college age. He's 19 years old, and we started on a budget early. Whether it's $5, $10, $100, it's the mindset. It is the action, and it is a non-negotiable for him. Because now he watches what he spends. He can make $100 and he can spend all of it, or he can spend 80 of it, spend 80 of it and save 20 of it, and allocate that. And that's what I want him thinking of and looking at is, you know what? If I don't get that Netflix, if I take off the Netflix account because it's not a necessity. Then I can take that and it gets allocated into something that appreciates, something that compounds. Right. Wow. It's the mentality.
So we talked a little bit about this off air, and every time I hear Ryan talk, it's always new news to me. So what I said off air is I was invited, and again, me and Ryan, we roll hard. I love this guy, very good guy. But I was invited over to a company event of his, and I remember I knew when it was time for me to completely shut up. I mean, I was already, the advice that he was getting from me, I was shutting up. But completely shut up when I was in a room and I was, in my mind, thinking of how I talk to if I'm talking to another professor or even another administrator here. I was talking little bit about my tax issues and me thinking that my tax issues were big and crazy. And then one of his friends said, oh yeah, I have the same problem. I'm paying $213,000 a year. Me and my wife, we sat back and we said, tell me more. That's a very good problem to have. It's a great problem to have when you're not getting money back. you're paying taxes. But when you think about that, you think about how much you have to make to pay $213,000. So the fact that Ryan is here and we're talking about little things, where do you want to be at? Do you want to be a millionaire? Right. Or are you just spending your money on stuff that is just materialistic, that has no value to it? And I could tell you, I'm still responsible. There's some things, but I think of Ryan. I know I'm like, what are you doing? That's a stupid decision that you're making. But that's something that I'm still fine. I'm sure you go through that.
I think
too.
A lot of it is wanting to learn that. Right?
Yes.
Wanting to learn it. I like
knowing it.
I like how Ryan said emotional. Because sometimes we can get emotional and want to go buy things that may not have a good return. That's right. And you may say, well, what's a good return? See, we're already talking we're already talking that conversation of return, investing. And one of the things that students always ask me, well, Mr. De Leon, how did you get financially stable? You know? Yeah. And I said, because I just learned it, I'm 42, I just learned it 7 years ago.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So if you can take us back, when was your moment of, shoot, what am I doing with this money? I mean, what happened at what age? Yeah. And is there an age where, I know may not be a specific age to learn this, but specifically in your case, when did you first learn about financial literacy?
Right. And it wasn't long ago, to be honest with you. And for me, it was 2009. And so you guys heard a little bit about who Ryan McKee was. Well, part of my transition was getting out of the music industry into, I was told to get a real job. Okay. So you've had your fun, get a real job. So I got a real job.
Was that from the family?
That was
from the wife?
From everybody. Everybody in my life.
Hey, we want to make sure the wife kind of, get a real job.
She may or may not have been the most persistent with that.
We'll just say she did not.
Yes. Yeah, there you go. Right. Yeah. I give her the credit. Right? She has the credit. Right. So
love it.
But it's funny, but there's truth to it because, hopefully, everybody has somebody in their life, whether it's a friend or a mentor or somebody that can kind of point us in the right direction. And that's truly what happened to me. Yeah. Is it was suggested to me to get a more stable job. So I did that. I took direction, just like you said. I took direction despite what I felt was what I needed to do. And with that, believe it or not, it actually led to a different job. I became a civil engineer and I worked for a land surveying company. And I learned that. And then one thing that you can't control is the market. So when we're talking about money, that was my first experience. Full transparency, I was making as a civil engineer $30,000 a year. And that was money that I have never made before so that was huge to me. Numbers are numbers, but that was huge to me. And then
so
at that time,
felt like you just had
what do I do with all this?
Now you got a real job.
Yeah, right. Yeah, now I got a real job. So and what had happened was the market actually started to change that. I worked for a company that was driven by residential real estate. And when the market started to slow down, my hours started to slow down. And so keep in mind, I was not budgeting at the time. A paycheck would come in, I'd spend what needed to be spent, and I hoped that I had money left over. That was my budgeting. So to answer your question, where I had my first true lesson was going broke. And we literally went so this was in 2009. I got licensed in 2008, made $100,000 my first year in real estate and thought, here it is. Wow. I've arrived. This is what to expect. And
so you went from 30,000. So 30,000 was a big amount.
30,000.
30,000 to 100,000 in 2009.
Correct.
Wow.
And I thought, this is real estate, easy money, make $100,000 per year. Didn't know how to spend 30, so knowing how to spend 100 was even. So what did we do? As expected, we spent our money. I had zero savings. We spent money like it was growing on trees and it was never going to go away. Long story short, the real estate market, it obviously changed in 2008 going into 2009. Just because I made $100,000 doesn't mean that that's what I saved. We went from having a pretty nice nest egg of about 2 to 3 months down to literally $0 in 2009. Wow. That is the defining moment for me.
And Ryan, real quick, wife at that time?
Yes.
A kid?
Yes. Kid on the way. On the way.
Geez,
so, yes. And
were you scrambling? Was it What was that emotion like?
We were scrambling as what I felt was my role to be, the head of my household. Just full transparency, my wife was the breadwinner. She was working. She went out and got a job and was working, was then nursing our second child. Wow. While I was trying to get my feet back above water. So that was the defining moment for me, was I can't provide for my family. I need to start taking this seriously and find another way.
Wow. Once again, this is real life. Once again, this is real life, man.
Yeah.
Kid on the way, wife. I can just imagine, Ryan, from a male perspective, a dude's heart knowing that you just hit rock bottom.
Yes. Yeah. Absolutely.
That just blows me away because we think, obviously, right, a financial advisor, real estate, you already had it all planned out.
Right.
Man, I'll be honest with you, Ryan. I've never been in that position where I've rock bottom. I've lost jobs, but never rock bottom where, what do I do now?
Correct. Yeah. And to even add more to it, we literally had been, because I remember the month because a tax return refund came back. So thankfully I was paying my taxes apparently, but a tax refund came, and that was the one thing that saved us. I had already reached out to some family members and said, hey, I can't make my mortgage. We either need it was either we need to foreclose, let the house go, or create something new from there. So literally, and I'm grateful for that moment. It really defined and it changed everything starting from there.
Right. So thinking about that and putting that into perspective, there was all of that. There was, take your kids on the way, wife, keeping that relationship healthy. There's a lot more work than we do as men or just individuals in general with the family that is, mentally draining in a good way when we're dealing with our family. But then you put on top of all of that stress and everything like that. How did you find that motivation to pick yourself up and, hey, I gotta keep going? And what ideas were you brewing during that time?
Yeah, so I think for me, the blessing that I've had in my life is I was just born naturally as a blue collar grinder. I will go out and work. If you give me a shovel and say, dig a ditch, I can dig it. I won't stop until I'm done. So that type of mentality, like I said, I'm not the smartest guy. I'm not the most creative. Right. Luckily, I adopted a good work ethic from my parents and was able to see that. My parents always struggled. So for my brother and I growing up, we didn't have enough money usually to get to keep up with everybody else. And so a good work ethic was instilled in me early. So when that moment happened, Chris, what I knew is I just needed to stay focused and go out and work. But what changed my perspective was on money. If I have it, it's not getting spent. Right. It changed that dynamic of what I do with my money. I can always go out and find ways to bring in money. Right. But I hadn't realized prior to then the importance of what I do with my money. So it changed that perspective.
So when you say now today, as you could see, Ryan, really successful individual. Ryan, in high school, in middle school, in grade school, and we're going completely off topic. These are not even questions that we even planned, but you just say things that make me think of other things. In high school, were you a 2.0 student, 3.0 student? Were you just a hard worker? Were you in the middle? Who were you at that time?
I was the social person, so 2.0 at best. I mean, not to exaggerate, but I did enough to get by. Was able to graduate and, obviously thinking that maybe things would change in college. Right. But I was more concerned with people and friends, and I wanted to be a part of all of that. Yeah. And academics, I wish I could go back. Just from a maturity standpoint, I'm in a different place now. I love learning now. Yeah. It just being real. It wasn't what was a priority to me back then. I wanted to be with my friends. I wanted to go out and experience these things. And I'm glad I did, because who I was and what I did defined who I am right now. Wow. And I never think, I wish I could go back and do it differently. Yeah. Because all the experiences that I've had have made everything so much more tangible for me now, and I appreciate what I have now because I've been on the other side.
Right.
Yeah.
I've experienced all of those
Defined it.
things, and it's defined who I am. So,
It's nice.
but yeah.
So transitioning, I like that question, Chris, because sometimes we forget our high school years and how it affects our future. Because to be honest, even to this day, I think about our football leader or a cheerleader, like where are they at now, right? So we talked about hit rock bottom financially. What would you say to the concept when people say the word, man, life insurance is a scam?
Yeah.
What would you say to a person who doesn't really believe or doesn't consider the value of life insurance? One, as a father, as a husband, and as, let's just say, as someone that foresees the future, because we're not always going to live here. I'm telling you, we all have a time clock, you know, and unfortunately, life insurance is something what people don't like to talk. But Ryan, what would you say to someone who has that belief?
Also a single individual, somebody maybe without
Absolutely.
kids.
Yes.
So all rounds.
Yep.
And I'm glad that you guys brought that up because my mentality before was I'll worry about that later. I'll worry about it later. I don't need it now. I'll worry about it later. And I don't know about you guys, but when I was in my 20s, I lost a lot of friends. And I watched their families go through having to honor their loved ones in a way where, can you imagine putting your family through having to go through all of the processes of having to grieve, but then also having a proper funeral, having a proper memorial? How do you do that? You have to have resources. I've seen people do that without the resources, and it's heartbreaking. It really is. So for me, life insurance, now you are correct. You have to know what life insurance is. If you want my personal opinion and perspective, I believe in 30-year term life insurance because for me personally, once again, insurance is not saving, insurance is insurance. And I save in other manners, but 30-year time, if you get it while you are young and healthy, you will thank your older self later. You know, so that was something that was I could have done it earlier. And here's the thing is I believe, and everybody has a different theory. You know, for me, it's a good rule of thumb is you want to have about 10 times your income. Current income right now, about 10 times of that. Because if something does happen, if you do have debts and liabilities, student loan debt, maybe you have a mortgage, that is a legacy piece that you can have taken care of for you to where you don't put that burden onto your family or inherit that burden. Many of us may inherit that burden because we have other family members that unfortunately didn't take those steps. So,
Again, this was something, I don't know if I said this earlier, but these were conversations that we were having as far as that, like trust funds. Ryan hooked me up with a really good guy for trust fund, and he was talking about probate, life insurance, all of these things. My wife and I have really good life insurance plans, just, you know, to benefit our family. So just these little pieces as we're coming up and, you know, we may be stressed out, in regards to our day-to-day lives, but planning for not just, you know, yourself tomorrow, yourself 10 years from now. Ryan said it earlier, you'll thank your younger self. You know, you're going through school, you're getting your education, and you'll thank your younger self. And another thing I love what Ryan said is that he was here. He went here for RCC. 6 years. He was a RCC alum. But school was not for him, and he used his strengths to still become super successful. Super successful. And then you said that, I was just holding all this in. It was just boiled in, Ryan. You were saying all these things, and my brain was just keeping it. But I really related to that social aspect because that was one of the things for me. It was more of a... you know, like I came to school at Chaffee College to be exact, just thinking like, hey, I want to see my friends. All my friends are hanging out in the cafeteria. So I'm thinking, hey, if I'm enrolled, I can hang out in the cafeteria and continue on the legacy of what I was doing in high school, which was nothing at Chaffee College. And then just being around, I may have ran into a a student who was handling their business, and they're like, oh yeah, I got good grades. And I'm like, oh shoot, he got good. Oh, I was competitive. He got good grades. Let me go on and get an A in this class and see what happens with that. And it continued, but I could tell you that my education personally has opened doors for me to be able to meet individuals like Ryan and other people that I've been able to talk to, just because we were in that circle. It's great. The gym that we belong to, or that we belong to together, everybody in there is some way, shape, or form successful in their own ways. You know, you have to pay the cost when you're in there, but successful in their own ways. But what that's opening up is a whole wealth of knowledge. So the 5 people, I'm asking everybody out there, who are the top 5 people you're hanging out with?
Like that.
Who are the top 5 people you're hanging out with? Because you'll become the sum of the top 5 people that you're hanging with.
I like that top 5.
Yeah.
And I'll even raise the top 5. Are these 5 people better than you? Because if you're the best one in that group, who are you learning from? Because sometimes we want to be around where people are looking at us, but remember, we're on a time clock. You never know when your time's up. So you got to understand, those 5 people must be better than you.
Right.
I met Ryan, and now he's my buddy. I'm telling you right now. I'm going to be calling him, texting him. Hey, what do you think of this? Hey, what do you think of that? Because obviously he's in a different platform. And I know for sure, if he ever has an academic question, hey, what about transferring? Hey, what if my kid wants to go to this school? What do you guys think? He's calling you. He's calling me. Right. Hey, because we're professionals in that platform. Right. So I really do like that. So we do obviously have audience between the ages of 18, even I'll say even high school, all the way to their 60s. And one of the biggest questions I always hear is, look, I don't have a lot of money. I know I got to buy a house because house is very important. What strategies would you give someone who doesn't make a lot of money, but enough? What strategies would you provide that individual to start looking into purchasing a home?
And potential loans that they could do for beginner.
Yeah, you know, there's a multitude of loans, so it's a longer answer is, of course, you want to explore what loan programs are available, but I'll keep it simple. One of the best loan programs out there that we utilize is the FHA loan. And it's 3.5% down.
FHA. Break that down. First time. What does it stand for?
No, so it's the Federal Housing Administration. It's a government-backed loan, and the benefit of it is it's one of the lowest down payments. So you can invest with the least amount of capital and get the best benefit. The rates are usually the most competitive. The only other one that you may want to look at, if anybody is a veteran and has served the country, you can utilize a VA loan, which actually is 0 down. You can finance 100%. So, and a lot of people don't know that I am big on ROI. And if you can take, let's say it's 3.5% down on a $500,000 house, right? So 3.5% down on that. Easy math is if you can just live in the house for even 2 years, we're averaging, let's say it's 5% appreciation. So you get 5% per year. Let's say that you do that for 10 years. So your 3.5% down turns into 10 years worth of 5% appreciation. That's where you start building wealth, and that's the mentality. Is if you're going to live somewhere else, if you guys look at rents right now, it's no secret.
We just talked about it last week.
You are funding someone else's retirement. That's the mindset that I had to get into. Is I hate funding someone else's retirement. I'm going to be selfish and fund my own. And then we start talking about, if you've owned the house for so long, then you have those problems like Chris is talking about, where I have this much equity, and how do I, from a tax advantage standpoint, how do I capitalize on that and then parlay that into the next investment?
So Ryan, we want to jump into our bowl of truth pretty soon. But before we do that, I want to have the audience be, how can they contact you? Is there a specific way that they could get in contact with you? And can you just tell them again where you're at, the name of your company, all of that good stuff?
Sure. Yeah, so it's the McKee Real Estate Group. We are located here in Riverside. I am literally 1.5 miles away from RCC, so we're local. Best way to reach out to me, you can contact me direct. And here's the thing. If you have questions, let me be a resource. So we do not have to transact. If you have questions, please, 951-318-9188. You can call or text. You can email me directly. It's Ryan, my first name, RYAN, at McKeeReGroup.com. I am an advisor. I want to be a resource. If you have questions, just like these guys said, please take advantage. The information is free. I want to help. Somebody's done that for me. It's my job now to leave a legacy and pay back. So best way.
So the bowl of truth, you're going to pick two just because obviously Chris and I here.
Love it.
So there's about...
Tell them what it is, Hyro.
Okay.
It has the big bowl of truth
so check this out.
there.
I'm going to break it down really easy.
Obvious what it is.
What I want is I pulled up 150 questions that every interviewee that comes and we interview, they would have to select, just pick and answer it. So Ryan, do us a favor, just pick one.
Okay.
And read it out loud, and give us an answer.
I think it's a good one.
Okay, love it. So, do you believe everyone has just one soulmate or multiple soulmates? Wow.
From a financial perspective.
From a financial perspective, yes. So, that's a deep question. Yeah. That really is a deep question. So, gosh, for me, I believe there's multiple people that I connect with at multiple levels. So, I'll use my wife, obviously, the most. As far as
please do so.
Yeah.
As far as alignment and here's what soulmate means to me is we are in complete. We're not always in complete alignment. I'll just be honest. Right. If I expect that we're ever going to see eye to eye all of the time, I think that would be false. But our mindset is always that we are striving to get there. And sometimes it's okay. I'll even give you a better example. My wife is my operations manager for my company right now. She is also not college educated and was not trained for this position. Our business is in complete alignment as soulmates in our business. Wow. We've made it very clear. She runs operations. I run sales. I don't step on her toes. She doesn't step on mine. I think the word soulmate also for me, we are in complete alignment because we compromise to each other and we complement each other.
So she's the multiple in one, is what you're saying.
Correct. Yeah. And together we are this. We're better together. We're this powerhouse between what I bring and what she brings, but it's not one bringing it.
Nice. Okay.
Right, let's pull another one.
One more, McKee.
All right, love it.
Let's see. He's a little.
He's like, ooh.
Oh, this is a good one. Okay, so what is your favorite compliment to receive? So in my company, we're big on love languages. So we if you guys are familiar, probably another class, we do what's called DISC assessments, but also love languages, the 5 love languages. It could be gifting, it could be words of affirmation. Nice. I am a words of affirmation person. Nice. So if you tell me that I'm doing a good job, if I get an attaboy, I will jump over mountains for you. So best compliment for me to receive is for somebody to give me affirmation that I'm doing a good job, because the secret is, for me, is I secretly tell myself that I have self-doubting talk, and if I allow myself to listen to that, I will believe it. Right. So I have to have people in my life that tell me the truth, but also support me. So best compliment is to tell me that.
Okay. And then 2 seconds, really quick. What's Ryan McKee's morning routine?
Yes, great question. So every day it's the same. So wake up, work out. So physical fitness is the best way to start the day. So I'm trying to get to this guy's level. Trying.
Same here too.
Yeah. So, but I think it's important to start off your day. So best overall for me is I start my day in gratitude. So I write 5 thank you cards per day, non-negotiable. If you are not doing that, that can be your homework. I will challenge all of you. Write a thank you card, some sort of a gratitude card. Handwritten notes are a thing of the past. I understand it. I'm telling you, though, there's magic in it. I write 5 thank you cards or gratitude cards. I do some spiritual things as well, too, because I want to work on balance for me. Right. I plan out my day. I look at my daily schedule, and I know what's coming up. Nice. Every single bit of my day is time blocked.
Awesome.
So,
Keeping It Real, Season 2, Episode 2. Like, subscribe, comment. We'll have Ryan McKee's information in the chat below. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.